Now they say first impression is the last impression, but then some thought that's too much. So they came up with first impression is a lasting impression. That's probably why we want to make a good first impression when we meet new people. Like you want to turn heads. You want people to be intoxicated by your charisma. You want them to remember you later. You want them to even talk about you with others, right? But it can be confusing. What exactly to do here? Like how to actually make a good first impression? What should we focus on? Should we fake it, or how much should we fake it? What's the right approach? Today we're going to talk about that. So let's start with the question, what is the purpose of first impressions? Turns out there's been some good research behind this. Our mind can look at a face and make its first impression in almost less than a second. These first impressions are not exactly accurate, but they have been accurate enough to enhance the likelihood of our survival throughout our evolutionary history. But again, how? What was the purpose that it was serving? Turns out there are three universal qualities that we can infer from other people's faces. The moment I look at somebody else's face, my mind makes a judgment on, first, attractiveness of the person. This is of course a signal in sexual selection and mating. Second, trustworthiness of the person. This is a signal to see if the person has useful social characteristics. And third, dominance of the person. It's important for us to identify the dominance of the person in the social hierarchy so that we can avoid conflict. So we are biologically hardwired to make snap judgment on others along those lines. In fact, a few years ago, a team of researchers at New York University examined the neuroscience of how people make impressions. They found out that two areas that were activated while making first impressions were amygdala and PCC. PCC stands for posterior cingulate cortex. In short, amygdala kind of helps us figure out how safe that person is, and PCC helps us figure out how valuable that person is to our needs. And it kind of makes sense, right? Like if you're in a jungle and if you meet a stranger, you first want to figure out, am I safe around this person? And next you want to figure out how valuable this person is to you, to your survival. Now this was the biological logic behind first impressions, but in our modern world, we can't just go by this. We have to rethink everything. Always remember that a lot of things which are just biological in nature, which are given to us by nature, are actually pretty outdated and must be rejected in this modern world. We have to keep putting our biological drives and our behaviors under the microscope of reason. So here's my take on this. First, don't care so much about first impressions. First impressions are overrated and usually wrongly rated. In life, you usually get multiple opportunities to understand people and make people understand you. Don't put too much weight on first impressions. And if somebody rejects you on the basis of first impressions, then good riddance. No point having such people in your life. Try to focus on people who have the time and energy to listen to you, to understand you. If someone simply disconnects with you on the basis of your looks or which car you came in by, then it's not your loss. You just saved a lot of your own time. But of course, I didn't make this video just to tell you don't care about first impressions. I do think first impressions do matter in a very small capacity, and you can actually improve your first impressions in a very healthy manner. So now my point number 2 is refine your goals with first impressions. Now do you remember the biological goals? You're trying to figure out attractiveness, trustworthiness, and dominance. So we can reverse it by saying that biologically speaking, if you're very attractive, if you seem trustworthy, and if you look very dominant, you are likely to have a great first impression. So you can then start to optimize your behaviors to maximize those three things, right? And here I'm saying don't do that. You can actually have better goals with first impressions. So the first one, attractiveness, is kind of fine as long as you know that the purpose of it is kind of limited to your dating game. Even second purpose, trustworthiness, is also fine. I mean, it's good to become a person who can seem trustworthy to others. But what I mainly want to change is the third one, that is dominance. Instead of trying to look dominant to new people, I say optimize to build deeper connection with new people. Don't play status-based game with others. Play the game of building bonds, building networks. So in this modern world, if you want to make a great impression, try to convey to people that yes, you can connect with me. Yes, I would be a great friend to you. So now we can talk about how can we optimize for all those three goals. First one, attractiveness. I don't think I have to talk much about here. I'm not here to give you tips on how to become more attractive. There are so many other YouTubers and influencers that can do that better. But yeah, everybody knows the basics of it. Stay fit and healthy, like keep a good physique, be groomed, wear good clothes, and yeah, also keep a good posture. But one thing I do want to tell you that don't get obsessed over your looks. Again, even if you're trying to optimize for dating, sexual selection, your attractiveness is just part of the picture. It's the starting point. To be good at finding partners in dating, you would have to be good at many other things than just muscle building, fashion, and grooming. So keep that in mind. Allocate your energy accordingly. Second goal was trustworthiness. trustworthiness. Of course, here there can be many ways to achieve that goal, but according to me, the most important one would be authenticity and integrity. Just be who you are. And this advice is in a way so paradoxical to the whole idea of making a great first impression. Because when you're trying to make a better impression, you are inherently trying to do something which is not authentically you. Like improving your first impression would literally mean going away from who you are authentically. So what I'm saying here is that don't do anything superficially to improve that first impression. Just be who you really are and you are likely to have a good enough impression. We like people who just seem comfortable in their skin. We don't like people who are pretentious or fake. This is why when you try too hard for that first impression, it backfires. Now people don't trust you as much. And if you think about it, authenticity is just much simpler. You just be yourself. You say what you mean, you behave the way you think, you do what you said. Your external self and your internal self should be as close to each other as possible. Keep doing it and I assure you your first impressions will get better. But of course, there is one limitation to this. What if there are a lot of problems in your authentic self? You could be a person who just doesn't even want to talk to people. Maybe you judge others. Maybe you look at them negatively. Or maybe you're just boring or selfish or aggressive or annoyed all the time. If those things are dominantly your personality, then if you be your authentic self, you are not going to leave a good impression. This is why this principle of being authentic has to be balanced by the next goal. And that goal is building connection with people. Like instead of caring about dominance, we are caring about building bonds with people. And for that, you have to work on yourself. You will have to learn more socially acceptable beliefs and behaviors. You will need to develop more ethical and moral values. And here I'm going to make another very important point, which is if you feel that you're not leaving good first impressions on people, and if you want to change that, don't change it on a superficial level. Try to find deeper problematic areas in your own personality and change those first. If you fix your deeper beliefs and values, your first impressions will naturally be better. It's like do great work and admiration will follow. Don't chase admiration directly. I can make a whole video on how to develop those socially desirable traits, but here are some examples. Pay attention to people. Be interested in them. Ask questions. Try to find out common areas and talk about those. When people make a joke, laugh heartily. Be flexible and easygoing. Greet them with a smile. Show an intention to connect with them afterwards, etc. Now, even developing all of these things is not that easy. But who said developing great bonds with people was easy? It's a lifelong learning project. So you must at least know the right direction. If you know the right direction, you won't do stupid things. Next, I want to tell you a nice little fact which is going to come as a good news to you. Apparently, there is a thing called liking gap. The liking gap is the disparity between how much a person believes that another person likes them and that other person's actual opinion. Basically, the liking gap is how much you think other people like you and how much they actually like you. And studies have found out that most people underestimate how much other people like them and enjoy their company. Isn't that amazing to hear? Here you are being just overly critical about your own self. Like you're constantly ruminating over, I shouldn't have said that. Why did I do that? That was so embarrassing. They must be laughing behind my back. I'm sure they won't talk to me again. Here you are being self-absorbed, thinking everybody is judging you, but in reality, they actually like you more than you think. And this again tells you don't have to worry too much about making those first impressions because people tend to like you good enough anyway. And my last point is pretension is not sustainable. Ultimately, all of us don't want to have just a good first impression. We want to have a good impression overall. So you can pretend all you want in your first meeting with others, but people will see right through you very quickly. Like while trying to look generous and nice, you just make all these big promises of helping people, but then later on when they follow up with you, you're just giving excuses. So after first meeting, they thought you were this nice, generous person, but very quickly they realized you were just a phony. So now, not only you're not generous, you're also fake. So don't give any impression in the first meeting that you can't sustain in the second, third or fourth meeting. And if you can sustain it in those following meetings, then you just are that person. So hooray. So the question becomes, what is the point of caring about making a better first impression? Turns out, not much. Bottom line, first impressions are overrated. Don't put too much thought in it. Just relax. But if you still want to play the game, play it moderately, keeping the deeper long-term change in mind. And if this video left a good impression on you, new, please make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. That'll give me a great impression of you guys. Thanks for listening. Shridhar Life School is a team of psychologists who specialize in counseling. If you're going through very difficult times or you want to achieve higher well-being, we offer one-on-one counseling for individuals, couples, parents and their children. To book sessions, go to our website shridharlifeschool.com.